Hey everyone, AMG Collectibles podcast. I got Stephen Blair here with me. We took a little week off last week because the biblical plagues of Egypt fell upon AMG Collectibles. A little bit of a struggle post Expo, but hopefully things are going a little bit better. Steve, collector of the people, how are you this week?
Much better. After spending 5 days in the petri dish known as the Toronto Sports Card Expo, I am finally over all that ails me.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah. Unfortunately, coming off the show, the funny thing is that I think for a little while there during COVID, ironically, people almost forgot that a lot of these conventions tend to be tend to be a case of they call it convention crud. Like if you talk about like the comic book folks, they call it like the convention crud because you've got so many people in a space coming from all over the place that tended to be the norm. Uh, Often you can get away from it sometimes, but if you're dealing with a million people, there's pretty much nothing you can do. You're surrounded by people constantly interacting back and forth, and there's not too much you can do about that. But I think, unfortunately, and part of the reason we took last week off is that, I got information back that, the entire team was affected, everybody across the board. So everybody needed a week off to reset. Plus, there was things coming up in the store. We're going to chat a little bit about that in this episode. But it was good to give everybody a week off to try to rest and recover. So hopefully that's going better. Blair, how are you doing this week?
Carl, I am super for a Tuesday morning. Yeah, I think Steve would have rather taken one of the biblical plagues.
Mm.
Yeah. No, we all took a little bit of a hit, I think. Just the show is kind of busy anyway, and then picking up a bug. So we all had it to some degrees, lesser or worse. But yeah, we are back on track.
That's right. Fair enough. So before we get started, we're going to talk about product-wise. There isn't too much going on the calendar we're going to discuss. We will talk about some stuff that came in the shop. So both gentlemen shared a couple images with me, so I will share those with you, and we'll talk through them. And we'll also talk about the AMG Trade Night that came this past Friday, because last Friday of the month is the AMG Trade Night every single month. So we'll always consistently try to remind you. I did put in a community post on the YouTube channel there just to mention it. And obviously the social medias have it. So if you follow the social medias, and I'll get the little ticker here going as we're talking. If you follow the social medias like the Instagram or check out the website, you'll get the different access points and you'll know when the trade nights are coming. But the easy shorthand is last Friday of the month. Last Friday of the month, there's a trade night. And if you want to check out the stuff going on in the store, it's a great opportunity to see things. Plus, we'll also touch on a little bit here. There was the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the sale with a lot of cool stuff. I saw a lot of images from that, so we can touch on that as well. But before we do, we missed on it last week, and I wanted to talk about it at least for a moment. We did mention Steve, YouTube star, collector of the people, and his appearance, his foray. I showed an image from like the behind the scenes, watching it all play out, but it did make it onto YouTube. So I don't know if you guys actually got a chance to see it. So I do have a screen grab of our YouTube star here, making his appearance. I will include a link to the YouTube video that this actually came from, so you can check it out for yourself and see the interaction of Steve and Mojo Sports from the actual YouTube channel itself.
Look at Jeff staring at me with admiration.
I know.
That's what I'm saying. Steve, I think it's very obvious where this was going. It was a star-making turn, and if you look behind in the background, you can see Sherry there with a little cameo. Yeah. I actually make a little cameo appearance in the background myself, and I'm not sure Blair might have been in the background there during this period as well.
I was selling wax like a madman.
Yep. So I thought I would share that. We missed it last week. We didn't have a chance. I had the screen grab there. I was like, I'm not missing out on the opportunity. I got to share it, it's just so we can all see it. Like I said, I will include a link to the description.
That's a great image too, because that's where my missing pen was the whole show. If you notice that image, it was in Steve's ear.
And we only had one pen.
We did.
Yeah.
We couldn't figure that out.
I'll share a quick story though. It was very funny because I was by the booth a number of times saying hello to the guys throughout the course of the weekend there. But one of the funny things, they were struggling because they had one pen. It was the whole back and forth thing. They had the app where they could take payments, which is great, actually very handy. And it worked quite well. I took advantage of it myself as well. It was great. But it's one of those things where, so you got it on the one phone and then you got one pen. And then Kevin comes by at one point and he's actually going to opening up some stuff from one of the grading returns and everything for a customer, and is talking to him. He happens to be at the booth there, and they didn't have a cutter. Now, luckily from my old retail days, he looked at me like, what? He's like, listen, man, I worked in retail years ago, and I had to cut 50 million boxes open. I bought my own box cutters. I didn't wait for somebody else. You can get the refillable ones. So I happen to have it. He goes, there you go. because you buy the good one. If you're going to have to cut 50 million boxes, you're not using the cheapo ones. I'm sorry. That's exactly right.
They're everywhere.
I was one of the few people in my store that actually invested and said, why did you buy your own? Because I want one that works. If I have to do this all day, I want one that works. I can make sure it's mine. It'll go in my pocket, and then I'm taking it home with me because it belongs to me.
Absolutely.
That was funny. Of all the stuff we took up to the expo and dragged back, me and Steve had one pen for the weekend.
We made it last.
Next time around, that means it's like, what's happening? First thing I'm going to do is like, Steve, I'm going to get a trade deal. What's that? Box of pens. Boom. Just drop it on the table. Box of pens.
Box of pens for a case of AEW.
It might be about where we're at that point. That was a bit of a running gag on that one. We did have some fun with it. I did announce though to the guys that I have officially broken even on my 9 boxes of AEW. So, mission accomplished. Great success. I was able to achieve that. So real quick, before we move on, and we'll talk about the trade night. But before we do, though, is there anything else? We covered a lot of the stories and everything, but did anything come to mind? Anything else you remember? Like I said, I was able to at least pull your star making term from the YouTube channel, so that was fun. But anything else came to mind? Obviously, lack of pens. We have that. that was a good one. Anything else before the end of the show that you want to touch on before we move on to trade night?
No, it was just it was a typical Toronto show for us, and we accomplished a lot of goals. Like I said before, we were able to trade some wax for other products that we know we can sell in the store, which have been doing fantastic, especially with Christmas coming up. Price point wise, getting like $30 and $40 blasters, that are great for stocking stuffers. So I think that was a great move on our part, just to turn some product over.
Sounds good. So with that said, then we'll close the book on the Fall Expo, and we'll talk more, obviously, in the new year about the potential, because obviously the Spring Expo could be coming down the road, but we got some time between now and then. So before that, though, this past Friday, you guys had the trade night. And obviously, that's a fun activity. I'll reach out with Sherry. We'll connect on it. I believe she was able to get a couple of images and everything. We won't share it out yet, but I'll connect with her and see if we can see some of that. And we'll probably share it next week. But before that, experiences from the trade night. So Blair, let me start with you. Any experiences or thoughts from the trade night this time around?
Yeah, it was again a good turnout. It kind of coincided with our Black Friday events, which we'll touch on in a bit. But yeah, good turnout again. Good mix of collectors and we set up some tables and stuff out front again. So some guys set up there and took advantage of that space, and a great mix of like collectors and family and kids. Yeah, it was fun. We got, I know myself and Brad, I don't know if Steve got in on that, but one little boy goes around, and I think he did a trade with me to start and got a pack. And of course, what I took wasn't worth the price of the pack, but and then he went to Brad. Anyway, he was going back and forth. I think he hit us up for 6 losing trades, but it's fun. It's that's what it's about, and trying to keep the kids in the hobby, So yeah, it was fun.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. Steve, anything in particular that struck you? Obviously, you guys had a nice wall of different product. You had the wax and everything going on. You did have the sales, so we'll touch on that. But from the trade night front, anything stick out for you?
Yes, that kid. He tried to get me. Brought a $20 card up, and I asked him how much he wanted for it. He said $20, and I asked him to explain to me how this was going to work on my end, and he said he didn't care. He just wanted $20. So
I appreciate the honesty. I appreciate the honesty in the long con. That's some solid. It's like, I actually don't care how this works out for you, but this is what I'm trying to do.
But no, just like Blair said, it was a great turnout, and it actually was all day with the Black Friday sales. We moved a ton of product, and we appreciate all our local customers coming in, because we're all in this together. So yes, they got some great deals, but they could have spent their money elsewhere as well. So we appreciate, the continued business from our regulars. and a lot of new people came in as well.
Very nice.
Yeah, exactly. We had a lot of people that I even just spoke to personally that said, I didn't know you guys were here. And so, obviously first time in the store, and yeah, it was great. It's great support from, the collecting community here in Halifax and Nova Scotia. It's you can't say enough. Like Steve said, they could have chose to spend their money elsewhere, but a lot of people came in and moved a lot of products. So it was an awesome couple of days. And then yesterday too, we extended it. But yeah, awesome support from the community here.
Good stuff. Now, a question with the different products that were actually discounted for the various sales and everything. Anything in particular fly off the shelves quickly, or was it kind of even across the board, or anything in particular kind of really move out the door quick?
Pokemon definitely.
Yeah.
It was just priced so well, and I mean, a lot of that product, dealing with allotments and things like that we won't get into, but a lot of it was just us needing to move some product, even if it was at a small loss or close to what we paid for it. And customers definitely got to take advantage of that, and there wasn't anything that wasn't a solid buy on the Pokemon side. And then as far as the other sports, AEW, of course, didn't move at all. And, but we did move a lot of hockey product as well. But definitely the Pokemon flew out the door and continues to.
Yeah. Although there is a rumor that one box of AEW was sold.
Yeah, I've heard this rumor. We might have to get independent verification because I worry about this rumor mongering happening.
I know. We may have to go to the video feeds for this stuff. Yeah.
I think this is going to become the running joke of the AMG podcast. It's like, all right, guys, you sell any AEW this week? It's unfortunate. There's reasons for it. I joke with Stephen Blair, but I actually think like there are legitimately discussable reasons for it. But it's one of those that there's no reason in lamenting it or basically beating it down. It's no fault of a lot of the characters of it, but it's timing. It's a lot of the situations that came around with it. But the thing is that happens with a lot of products. Sometimes a product comes out at the wrong time, and sometimes that builds anticipation, and sometimes it does the opposite. It very much depends on what it is. It's kind of interesting. When the cup came out and it was that super long delay, no one cared, even though it made no sense. And we had rookies that were years prior, and for some reason now they're rookies again. In that situation, the audience was willing to wait. And when you finally gave them what they wanted, boom, they flew to it and flocked to it. That's a different conversation, but each product's its own beast.
Mm-hmm.
So let me touch on. So that's for trade night. And we talked about a couple of the sales and everything. If the sales, you guys say the sale is still kind of going on, it's been extended out.
Yes, we've extended it to today until 6:00. But I think since we're just doing this podcast today, I will talk to Sherry, or actually Sherry's in Cape Breton. So I will make the decision that we'll do it until Wednesday at 6. Okay. That way everyone gets an extra day. For those that are just seeing this podcast, hopefully later the day, maybe we'll get a few more new faces in. So I'm not sure if I will get in trouble for this, but I have just said it.
There you go. Look at you. It's the collector of the people has made an executive decision.
Yeah.
And this episode will be out when we record this, just so everybody understands. When we record this on the Tuesday morning, and I try to make sure it's up around noon Eastern, give or take. So as long as I get it out within noon Eastern, that means you're going to have the afternoon. So if you guys happen to catch it on the YouTube channel, it'll be there for you. And then, so effective. Steve gave you a little bit of a window there. So you'll get it the same day that we're recording it. So that'll be part of it.
Sherry likes us too much to fire us.
Maybe if you can sell one more box of AEW, they'll be, employee of the month. Whoever can sell the other box.
Well, like you had mentioned earlier, too, now that CM Punk's over in WWE, that might spike a little interest, for people maybe pulling a CM Punk auto out of metal or AEW metal if he's in fact in there. But
Steve's
anything to sell a product. So I'm on CM Punk.
There you go.
I have no idea who that is.
Blair, right now, that's okay. The wrestling guys who would be into that do know who it is, and he's as buzzworthy right now as he's been in a couple of years. If there's any time that attention is going to be his best friend, this is it. So beyond that, we'll see what happens. So this is best opportunity. So let me touch on a couple of cards that came in the shop here. So you gentlemen shared some images with me. So we'll start off with that. You guys mentioned that the Pokemon move well. So I'm going to share this one here to start off with, and then we'll move from there. So here we got one of the shiny old Pokemon. Sherry normally would be the one to give us a little background on this, but I'll read it with what it is. Fortunately, we do have it labeled. So we've got, this is 2020, the Pokemon. So it looks like this is the Japanese version. And it's one of the Shiny Star V or 5. I'm not sure which one they're going with. We got a Charizard here. I know for the Pokemon thing, the shiny cards are very popular. I think, and they do look good. So it's one of those things. I was aged out by the time Pokemon really took off, but I remember when the product first came out, and obviously this is a lot fancier than the first year Pokemon that was out there in the past. But I remember the first year Charizards and how crazy people went for them. So this is a newer iteration of that.
Yeah, I like this one. I just like the look of it. I've seen it before in English, I think, but yeah, it was a kind of a really neat looking card.
And I heard a rumor, since we talked about rumors, I heard a rumor that someone pulled a cheese Stringomon. And I'm not saying I got an image, but I got an image that someone pulled a cheese Stringomon. It's very exciting. So as far as the Pokemon go, there's only a handful that I know of, but that's one of them. So here's another one of the Pokemon here. This is Lugia. Yeah. So another again, I do like comparatively. I don't have a great frame of reference. This is where I would defer Sherry's expertise normally. Yeah. I will say that I like the design of these cards a little bit more than the older ones now that you got a little bit more art going. If you're talking about like a playing card game, the art I think is really important. And when you've got more of a full art, I think it looks cooler personally. And then obviously the shiny cards and everything draw a crowd and they're very attractive. So I think it's a cool looking card there.
Steve took this one in a kind of a Pokemon collection. So it's just the Lugia. It's a pretty strong card just as it is.
I just liked it because it was shiny. That's why I got it.
Pretty much you just described one of the key features of a lot of Pokemon cards. Is it shiny? Yeah, shiny. I think. Let's be fair though. If we're being completely fair and honest, on a lot of modern day sports cards, this is a criteria that 100% is part of it. I will also say, again, non-expert in Pokemon at all, have no idea. I will say it's also kind of interesting that from the image, it looks like it has a little bit of texture to it. So it's shiny, but it also looks like it's got a little bit of texture to it, which I think can make it a little bit interesting. Again, just aesthetically. That's all I'm talking about, aesthetics.
Like you said, I'm not a Pokemon guy either, but you do start to appreciate the artwork in that on some of these cards. Yeah. So, maybe someday I'll learn more, but for now I like to hand it over to Blair. So Blair's task is to become more of a Pokemon. I don't know if I'm going to ever call him an expert, but just a guy that does Pokemon.
Nice. Yeah. Nice.
I'm like you, Carlos. I was not into the Pokemon. I was doing other things when Pokemon came out, but it's kind of learning on the fly. But it's great. I mean, we also have a strong support. We've bought a bunch of collections the last little while, so it's been good. We're filling up the discount boxes with the shiny cards, and it's being received well. We do have obviously product is a big thing for us with the Pokemon, but also the singles and the odd time the showcase cards, they're at a different price point, so they're more of a kind of collector or maybe somebody looking for their collection. But
sounds fair. Third one we've got here is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic book. This one I've actually seen this cover before. Is this I don't think this was the very first of theirs, because I see it's focusing on Raphael. It does have a little different style. So it looks like it's a mini series there. Can you tell me a little bit about this one?
Yeah, 1985. It's the Raphael #1, and it's the first print. So usually you just check inside the cover there. There's different printings, of course, of these books as well. That's the first in that series. Yeah. So
Oh, that's nice.
it's a key book. Yeah. So I took that in on a bit of a trade, and actually took this with some trade against an Upper Deck Series 110, and then the gentleman got back to me, and he ended up pulling the Bedard Easter egg out of the 10. So he did pretty well.
Nice. And if
Yeah.
memory serves me, it's been years now, but I remember this one, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, by contrast to the Pokemon. Uh, I remember the cartoon for that one for sure. And I remember a
Mhm.
lot of the products and things that came out. And I think on the right here you have Casey Jones. I believe memory serves me, that's Casey Jones on the other side there with Raphael. So kind of a fun throwback there. So let me move on here. We got a couple of hockey cards. So Steve provided me with these ones, and luckily these ones are all graded with PSA, which you can get graded inside the store if you go over to the kiosk there. Um, but these ones we got labeled nicely for us. So 2017 SB Authentic. We got a Connor McDavid Marks of Distinction, which is one of the classic inserts, autograph inserts. When we did our SB Authentic preview, that is one that has carried over for the last several years. Marks of Distinction is a good one. So this was numbered to 25 for Connor McDavid. McDavid is finally starting to play a little bit more like himself. Last couple of games, he started picking it up. I think he got 5 points last game, a goal, 4 assists, and last 3 games he basically bolstered his totals, and they're starting to look a little more respectable. He's starting to get back into his kind of conventional ways.
And that's a pop one as well, that card. So
Nice.
yeah, actually I already sold that one. So I didn't think it would last long, but yeah, that's a very nice looking card.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful card.
Yeah, clean looking autograph, which I think is really key with these. So 10 with a 10 autograph. Very nice. So now we got another McDavid autograph here. So this one is the Sparkling Scripts from 2019 Upper Deck Black Diamond. Again, a 10 with a 10 autograph. I believe these ones are the sticker auto. So in contrast to the first one's on card, which is always very nice. It's a premium.
Yep.
But this one's a sticker auto. Both of those were numbered to 25. So this one's the same. Design wise, I actually like the design on this. Black Diamond, when they change it to be a little bit more premium, I'm a little lukewarm on some of the stuff, a little hit and miss for me. But stuff like this, I think, looks nice. I think that's a good looking card, at least.
Also a pop one. So it's a nice little, all 3 cards that you're showing here were all pop ones. So anytime you can grab those, you grab them.
Nice, nice. So the third one of them is the Glacial Graphs. So this was a little tough to a little tough to see, but it's an acetate card. So we got the Sidney Crosby 2009 UD Ice Glacial Graphs. Again, Gem Mint 10 with an auto 10. Now, 2009 is good because this is right here, I want to say like 4th year Crosby, give or take, for within the first 5 years. So it's still fairly early for him. On card autograph. On the acetate, a little tough to see, obviously, with the dark background, but since it's acetate, you'll be see-through. So with a different background, it'll be a little easier to see. But those are cool looking cards. And just from what I can see in that image, looks like a clean autograph, which is really nice on that kind of surface.
Yes. And also hard to get a high grade because the surface marks so easily.
Yeah.
Just like with a clear cut.
Yeah. I actually owned a copy of that in raw condition many moons ago.
Nice, nice. But this is one of those ones where if you guys are familiar with the ice, this kind of acetate card is what ice was known for quite some time, especially in the earlier days. And even in the 2000s there, almost into 2010s, the acetate autographs became kind of a fun thing. That's where you really take advantage of the theme. You call it Glacial Graphs, well then do it on an acetate card that's see-through. Again, aesthetics, right? It's what the collector's into. You got the shiny, which we talked about with the Pokemon. Well, if you're going to do something like this, then the design has to match it up. And I think this is one of the more fun designs that they had with a lot of these Glacial Graphs.
Yeah, I think they hit a great thing there when they started doing that. I remember I was actually opening product back in the day as a collector. So that was really cool when they started. And it fit perfectly because it just makes it look like ice on that card there, the way they did it.
Absolutely. So thank you, gentlemen, for including these images there. Wanted to share a couple of things that have come into the shop. So thank you for that. That's good stuff. So one other thing that I'll ask you, since Steve did make the executive decision, we'll kind of round it out on this. Since he did make the executive decision to kind of extend the sale a little bit, if you were going to kind of pinpoint to anybody, obviously there's different stuff, different categories that are for sale. Anything that catch your eye that you think is a particularly interesting deal? And for any of the stuff that's on sale right now?
I mean, a lot of the hockey is just priced to sell.
Yeah.
So if you want hockey cards and something open, come and get it. Even like just some Whether it's Series 2 Upper Deck from last year, it's just at a really good price point. We've been moving cases of that just because if this is what you do, and the price is staring you in the face, it's a good deal. Get it. So very good prices on that. The extended is insanely low priced, and then just other products like Synergy and SPX and all that. It's very close to our cost, or even less than our cost. So if there's ever a time you want to buy some product, it's today and tomorrow.
Very nice, very nice. Do you have any favorites yourself, Blair, from any of the ones that you've seen out there on the floor?
Yeah, like Steve said, it's all pretty much priced. If anybody's looking for hockey, then now's the time to come get it. But even like a product like Centennials, that's a new product that I believe it's the first issue, right? I think we haven't seen that before, but that's at a great price for anybody that was looking to do something different. And our favorite Allure, which we have a couple of different years on that. That's
honestly, I feel we should Allure way too much love. I really think we need to stop gushing over it. Like honestly, Steve, we need to restrain ourselves a little bit here. It's been a little bit too much.
Yeah.
And also the metal, the Skybox metal hockey too is,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that it's a gorgeous looking product, and absolutely has a great price point on it. And we have lots of that available. So come grab some.
Yeah. And then as far as Pokemon, I mean, again, that's all got really great prices on it, but the booster boxes are reduced. The 151, what we have left, I think we're kind of out of ETBs, but the premium box, that's at an amazing price right now. So yeah.
What I'll do to kind of close off this episode is, like I said, I won't do it every time, but I do want to acknowledge a couple of comments from our last episode. Now it's been a couple of weeks, so I want to acknowledge a couple of comments here. So for one of them is from Strictly Canadians 902. By the way, YouTube has changed the way it does your handle. It just shows the @ handle now. So I'm going to read it as is. I'll go with it. From Strictly Canadians here, Collectibles, inside joke with Steve. So just see, it must be really inside.
Oh, actually, yes. Now I know who that individual is.
You got it? Okay. So there you go. So that was one for you, Steve. So I just thought I would give that since it's an inside joke with Steve. So there you go. Of course, Gotham Collectibles also joined in. So I'll quickly read this one here. Glad to see the Stinking Show is over and everyone is back. Cool to see Mr. Brad on the show. Helped out with my collection so far over the years. Love hearing about the PC pickups. Do you think one day we'll be able to get PSA grading in store? Imagine that. Holy crap, Vesna rookie. There you go. Again, just a reference to the episode 2 weeks ago. That is insane. Congrats, Go Sens Go. Included is, Go Sens piece in there. So thank you for that. This one here is actually from Dave Bulletin, who actually I know from my YouTube channel. I like the angle that he took on it, so I'll read it to you guys in its entirety, and then I'll kind of respond to this one. By the way, if you guys want to leave any comments in the comment section, feel free to do so. We'll do our best to get back to them as much as I can. I'll try to remind the team to check it out. If there's a store-specific question, they'll have to focus on the answer. I won't be able to provide it for you, but they can do so. But I'll try to direct them to it if you leave a comment. So feel free to do so. So this one, Carlos, I saw the video from the Great Canadian Explorer. So that is a YouTube channel. I am familiar with it. I think I've seen a couple of videos for them. They did a walkthrough of the Toronto Sports Card Expo. Saw the PSA setup and Brad through the window of their fortress, the large build out that the PSA guys had. I like the banners they had hanging up, but there's a potential scandal that you need to look into. So scandalous. Blair, scandalous. Scandalous. It's coming. The Great Canadian Explorer was peacefully standing and videoing the setup and was waiting to ask how the show pricing was for PSA grading, which he did mostly at grading companies. Then someone, either security or PSA employee, told him that he couldn't video over there, meaning PSA. Why not? What is being hid? Was the dealer in the video getting special treatment? Was Gary Moser back in the corner? Were there special PSA 11 labels sitting on the tables? 3 question marks. I think at least a half-hearted investigation is required and endless speculation about what is being covered up. Dave, I am not going to acknowledge that with a response. What Brad is doing, getting PSA 12, so does Alec Manoa, because that's the only way they will ever sell. I think the AW boxes will sell before Alec Manoa. But what Brad is doing to get PSA 12s per personal is something that I'm not going to discuss. Brad has sworn me to secrecy. I will say nothing.
I agree.
Thank you for the question, Dave. But that is all I have to say on that matter. And thank you all for the comments. So for everybody else on the YouTube, watching the YouTube, like I said, feel free to throw things in the comment section. And like I said, we'll do our best to get back to them. If you could like the video, that is always appreciated. We got great support on the last episode. It had been a couple of weeks, so we're back. And then hopefully we'll be back on a normal schedule. And we'll try to include some other videos and things, hopefully, as a lot of these events come up, especially things like the sales in the store and also, events like the trade night. Things like that, and then the monthly card show that AMG Collectibles works with. So we'll try to incorporate these different elements into it. If there is something that you would be interested in, or questions that you have about how things operate in the store, because we've touched on some of that in the past, but if you've got something specific you'd like to touch on, well, these gentlemen literally work in the store every day. So if there's something that maybe they can give you some insight on so you understand it better, then that's something we can provide, and that's something we can add into some of these episodes going forward. So with that said, thank you all for checking this one out. For Steve, collector of the people, and Blair, collector of the shiny Pokemons, and soon to be expert on the Pokemons. Thank you all for checking this one out, and we'll be back in the next one.